Greetings, SEM Rush All-Stars on Facebook. My name is Mitch R., and I'm going to be walking you through a curious migration of WindyCityParrot.com that you see here on the screen. It actually launched in December 31st, 2001, got an order 6 hours later. You can never do that today. My wife designed the site, and it originally resided on Actinic, which is no longer around, and it was a desktop e-commerce platform. Along the way, we moved to Miva as an e-commerce platform, and it took us 3 hosts to find one that was Miva-centric, provided the Miva license, and that was Wolfpaw. We were on a dedicated server with them back in 2004 and 5, but we had to leave Miva when they changed their pricing structure and basically tripled what it would have cost to maintain living on the platform. We didn't think it was worth it. So I'm checking my notes here. We went to Plus Commerce, but as a caveat, Plus Commerce used to be called Go eCart, but as I like to say, that they probably renamed it because of the tsunami of negative reviews they had on their hosting. So we had a very ugly departure from them, and so we moved to another hosted platform, 3D Cart, which we occupied for several years. But at some point, they decided to upgrade their back end, and the next thing we know, we're losing literally $10,000 a month in revenue. I knew guys who were losing $50,000 a month in revenue. The fonts would change, and our descriptions would just deteriorate. The fonts in the descriptions would change, and we would lose half the descriptions, and then things would fall off the site like trust seals. Let me show you here what I mean by a trust seal in case you're not sure. If you look down, let me get my mug out of the way. If you look down here, that's a trust seal, Norton Guarantee. We give $10,000 ID theft protection. This is a trust seal. We really like this. This is an extended validation of from Sectigo, where they actually verify our address and our phone numbers and so forth, so that you know that you're buying from some site that's actually in Indiana, USA, not Hong Kong. Anyway, so moving along, we ended up we were at 3D Cart, and we are currently on SiteGround. And SiteGround really has gotten bad ever since they moved their server farm to Google in Iowa. Their service has been really degraded. We're on 3 cloud servers, spend $500 a month, so we have pretty good insight to this. What makes this migration curious, and why I call it curious, is this site is 2 sites operating simultaneously. In other words, right now, you're looking at the front end of ZenCart. If I click on the blog, you're looking at the front end of WordPress. So let me go back to home, and here's kind of an abbreviated description of what's happening. The blog is WordPress. The e-commerce menu here, that's ZenCart. So it was designed by a terrific Vietnamese developer, and who's no longer doing this, so I'm not going to be posting his link. I'm just checking my notes here. Basically, what makes this migration unique, it's really multi-tiered. Because we're migrating 2 sites into one, which is going to be a WooCommerce site, and I'm not going to show it to you just yet because I want to set up everything that we're doing. There's going to be several databases, including things like rewards points, product reviews. We're going to be abandoning Discus because we think it confuses, and to kind of give you a sense for how big we are into blogging, let me yeah. See, we have published 1,335 blogs. And one of the problems we see with Discus, we've seen over the past few years, is in order to respond to a comment in Discus, it requires a login to Discus, and it confuses a lot of people, and I don't think we get a real, I know we get somewhat of a benefit, an SEO benefit, but I think it will be worth it to allow people to comment on Windy City Parrot without requiring an additional login. So we're going to be migrating all of the comments that we see, not only on the blog, if all goes well. Let me see if I can find an example of how else we use Discus on the website. If I go into a listing, we're also using Discus to allow people to comment on various products. And so it populates with our blog, which we really like because the blog attracts 80% of our traffic. The problem is we're not moving enough visitors to the e-commerce side. And that's what we're going to resolve in this move. When we migrate, we're going to be migrating, besides migrating Discus to WordPress comments, we're going to be overriding all of the posts, all 1,335 posts, onto the new site by matching up the permalinks. We are not going to migrate any of the pages. We've upgraded all of the pages because I'm going to touch a little bit about SEO in here. So this is a category, and this is a category footer, and we have lots of content in the category footers. WooCommerce has no category footers. They do. It's complicated. I chased it, and upon rethinking this, I don't think this is good. This particular view is good for the mobile experience. It's too large. So we're taking something, and what we're doing is we're moving all of these into WordPress pages with links from the category descriptions, which will be between 2 and 5 lines long. So they're not going to take up a lot of space. We'll be talking about that in the future. We're abandoning Jetpack. I'm including a link above this post so you can read some of our links. We feel Jetpack has been disingenuous. We lost over 900 videos in a 5-minute period because of a problem Jetpack had, and after an 18-hour thread, we decided to move on, and we have now come up with a formula for bulletproofing embedded videos. We don't trust Jetpack. We do trust a company called Magefix, Magefix. They are our security team, and they go into every website that we operate and make sure that it's on a CDN, that it's firewalls, that countries are blocked. Some of the things you can do with software like WordPress, but they really make it granular. And actually, Adrian from Mageflex, I just did another migration, and we had a problem with our MX servers, which are mail servers in G Suite. And he was receiving my emails, but I wasn't responding to him. The guy calls me from Transylvania, Romania, and says, here's the problem. I'm going to go ahead and fix it. And 10 minutes later, we're going back and forth again in the on email. So I really like Magefix for our security detail, and they do much better than Security at probably 25% the cost. So That's it for this episode. The next episode, we're going to be covering e-commerce templates. The new dev site has had, I'm going to guess, 5 or 6. We finally have one that you've probably never heard of, and it's one of the most unique templates out there for e-commerce on WooCommerce. We're going to talk plugins, but first we're going to be talking about what I call scaffolding plugins. Scaffolding like you use on buildings. These are plugins that you use to build a website, then delete them because they won't be needed. Case in point, all Migration Pro, I think it is, where we're moving products and categories from the databases, the raw databases in Zencart to WooCommerce. We're also going to look at how we redesigned things like the top level menu and went from 11 categories to 7, and using we use SEMrush for a lot of our data. In redesigning the site, we use Lucky Orange for their screen recordings and their heat maps, so we can see what we've been doing wrong on Zencart, because everything here has to be hard coded, and I'm not a coder. The new site, by the way, all 10,000 pages, there's not one stitch of custom coding. Last but certainly not least, we're going to be talking about SEO and site structure initiatives and how we came to our current design based upon what we saw in our 18-year, well, we have 16-year history of Google Analytics and a Search Console that we can draw from to create the new design. So that's a start. We're going to keep you up to date, and we're actually going to show you what we're doing on the new website, which, by the way, it's not a dev site. It's not a staging site. It's a live site that we develop on, and we'll talk about our reasons for doing that. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.